So we got a nice video for y'all today. This is from Fantastic Hip Hop. We're about to react to this video, say why Drake is crashing out because his album is flopping bad. Now I ain't gonna lie, I thought day one his album numbers was going crazy, y'all. But I think it's like a few days now. But people been receiving it pretty positively. Now I listened to the album and I was like, okay. I wasn't really too impressed. There were a few tracks I could have taken from it, of course, and add to my playlist, which I did. But overall, the project wasn't one I could see me listening a lot, so to speak. But of course, I don't think this album was for me specifically. But before I keep talking, man, let's check this video out from Fantastic Hip Hop.
Drake, OVO, and all of their fans may have thought they were so up when SSS for You dropped. What has now become clear is that as the streaming numbers are coming in for this record, and we are
Let me know what y'all think about the album, by the way.
seeing how this thing is performing.
No judgment.
That despite people initially lining up to hear the return of Drake when this came out, a lot of those people listened just to see how bad this record would be, as they have not stuck around for repeat listens, because when it comes to how Drake's SSS for You album is performing, it is way below what anyone would have projected, and because of this, Drake, Party Next Door, and everyone around them is spiraling, because they never thought they would see a day where their music is doing so bad, and now both.
Imagine you being Party Next Door, man, and all the time you waiting for a Drake feature, and you now got it at his lowest point, bro. Well, I would be so mad. I'd be like, bro, you could have did this like 2 years ago, my G.
Before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And just as I said in my last video, the Drake fans are still very mad at me because they don't want you to hear the truth I'm about to tell. So please be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It helps me out a ton and it is more needed than ever. And so now when it comes to Drake and SSS for You, beyond hip-hop or anyone else's opinion for that matter, when it comes to the fall-off that we have seen in Drake's career and the shift that we have all been talking about that has been going on in hip-hop ever since Kendrick Lamar won the beef, there is no debating what's actually happening anymore because we now have numbers to truly see how this album from Drake is doing. And when it comes to those, they are genuinely just terrible because compared to every single Drake album since the last decade, this project didn't just have the worst first day streams by far with only a little over 56 million. But compared to the last Drake album, For All the Dogs, which had 108 million opening day streams, that's almost a 50% decrease in the amount of people who listen to this new album. And I mean, no matter what you try to say about this, there's no way around the facts. This is just terrible. And what is so funny is that after Drake tried to use these same number games on his diss tracks to dismiss Kendrick from being on his level, and overall from trying to prevent himself from ever being rivaled by anyone, he has now lost this game so much because not just right now is Kendrick Lamar's music, which has been out for months, still outperforming all of the new songs from this Drake album, because when you look at Not Like Us and Luther, they are still comfortably doing better than this entire new album from Drake.
That's
and
crazy.
Even with 21 new songs out from it, Luther is still projected to take that #1 spot on the charts over every single one of them, which between this being a Kendrick song, and of course...
Let me ask you a question. Do y'all think this is labels doing their thing? Do y'all think they are literally stifling Drake's music? For real. It's crazy because GNX came out and it wasn't really promoted. It was like a surprise drop. Now, of course, it was highly anticipated, but it still was a surprise drop. So everybody was flocking to it, man. So the numbers was crazy. But this one was promoted heavily. Like Drake album was promoted. This Drake and Party was promoted.
A melodic driven one that does such a better job at being an R&B song than anything on Drake's new record. It's really just so funny that this is the song specific.
Wow, that's crazy, bro. Luther up there going crazy. Not Like Us. Wow, TV off. Squabble up. Wow, that's crazy. Look. Give me a hug. Everybody talking about this record right here. It's a decent record. I ain't gonna lie to you. You got SZA up here. Wow. Oof.
That is finally going to become a #1 record right now when Drake is competing with it in so many different ways. And from this to the fact that with over double the catalog size and a new album out, Kendrick Lamar is still outstreaming Drake, and he is just breaking all of his records, which is going to end up giving him the ultimate title you can get in this era, as Kendrick Lamar will be the first rapper to ever reach over 100 million monthly listeners. And just the fact that Kendrick has never compromised his integrity to do this, and he now has almost over 20 million more monthly listeners than Drake has ever had in his peak, I mean, that is just surreal. And whether you want to talk about quality, impact, or just resort to numbers, Kendrick is really the greatest in any way you want to put it. And to quote Kendrick Lamar in his...
How much regret y'all think Drake had for even engaging and telling him, drop, 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 drop? How much regret y'all think Drake have? He literally gave Kendrick the ultimate boost. Not saying Kendrick, and like I always listen to Kendrick music, right? Of course, I got all his albums, all that stuff. But this boost he had, we gotta admit, man, this beef, whoa.
Super Bowl performance.
Putting him in a different stratosphere.
Is that no matter how Drake and his people try to rig the game, they just can't fake that influence. And now, even if all of this makes Drake fans want to admit that Kendrick Lamar is winning too much and that nobody can compete with him off of the momentum of the Super Bowl, I mean, even beyond the current king of rap, this album is still flopping when you go down the list of top artists right now, as again, from big names who just dropped like Bad Bunny, who is still outstreaming Drake in total, to somebody like The Weeknd, who made sure to let the world know that his new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, still had the biggest streaming debut of the year so far over Drake and Party's project, which once again is just showing how beyond Drake and Kendrick, Drake is losing to so many other artists right now who he tried to diss, and when you compare Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is an amazing record, to SS For You, I mean, it's no surprise why this thing outperformed Drake's, because in every single aspect possible, this R&B album is an early album of the year candidate. And now, beyond really who are arguably the biggest artists out right now in not just Kendrick, but also Bad Bunny and The Weeknd, if we look down the list and really figure out how bad Drake is doing even more, his numbers are not just down for his own standards or when you compare them to the biggest stars out. But now so many other rappers and the recent work they have released has passed him by far, as compared to a record like Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia even. That record opened up with over 80 million streams on its first day, and with only 14 songs compared to Drake's 21, which makes a huge difference, as the whole idea behind making an album this long is to make sure those streaming numbers stay high up in the first place. And even despite how now multiple West Coast rappers have Drake wiped down as from the quality to the impact, and again, the thing Drake has always claimed, which are the numbers, even Tyler is winning against him in every single category now. Even beyond this, if we compare Drake to rappers who are decades into their careers like Eminem, his last album outperformed this Drake and Party record, and even funnier than this, and just putting into perspective how much of a low Drake has been.
I really thought Drake album was doing crazy numbers though. On that first day, the way I hear people was talking about it, like people, like Drake fans was out there, like their chest was out. For real. I'm really surprised to hear this. I am shocked.
If we compare this collab album to another collab in Vulture's One, which had no support from the industry and was actively being prevented from staying on the charts and performing well, that still ended up outperforming this record from Drake and Party, and it did so for multiple days. And so really just putting into perspective how bad this album is doing. As the second day streams for this record were even worse, as they decreased and were now in the 30 millions, it is showing just how bad all of this is going, especially when you consider that a record like GNX actually increased in streams on day 2 and got over 74 million. And so overall, what we can see clearly is that Drake is no longer competing with the top rappers and artists in general. And even compared to legacy acts, no matter where they stand in the industry, he is not even outperforming them. And so overall, when you actually find albums that Drake can stand next to in terms of their performance, he is now off the A-list or any top list that you can put together of the biggest acts in music, because when you consider that the album already on day 2 is now doing this.
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure he's off that A-list yet, man. I ain't sure. Again, I ask y'all, do y'all think this is the label saying, nah, bro. You think you could finesse us with saying it's a You and Party album? Nah, this is a Drake album. And from what I was listening to, it was mostly Drake. I barely heard any Party on that album. So I could clearly see he was probably trying to get a workaround, but nah.
This low, and Kendrick Lamar's old music is still outstreaming it with ease. Because really, GNX currently, which is so deep into its release, is still doing more than this. All in all, in a music industry where when something is new, everybody talks about it and tunes in because they are interested, what we are seeing from this is that Drake is really at a point where there is just no interest in actually listening to what he has put out, maybe beyond a quick first run through. And I mean, even compared to other albums that we have talked about that have came and went, when it comes to SSS for You, this album is just bad and really in this era in the worst way possible, because aside from one song where Drake raps, the performances are just so devoid of anything that they are not even worthy of being talked about because they are so forgettable. And I mean, when it comes to Drake trying to put out...
If you're a Drake fan, you might want to click off right here because I'm going to give my opinion. I do agree everything he said with the album. When I heard the album, no. I want to say this. I did listen to the hype before I got into the album, so my expectation was probably really, really high. I went there and it was like, nah. Nah. I had a few of them, though, that I liked. But overall, as a total, project, I was like...
out a record in this time that can compete with everything in the
don't
industry,
see myself playing that.
even for his new standards, where the bar
I still
has
listen to
already
GNX
been
to this
so
day.
Deciding to make a record with this boring of music, especially after coming off the Kendrick beef, was one of the worst choices he could have possibly made, because really the only difference between...
But wait, sorry for all the pausing, by the way, but do y'all think Drake need to disappear for a little bit? Now, let's go back a little bit. Remember, the reason why Kendrick was so impactful because Kendrick was actually nowhere to be seen for a long while. No socials, no interviews. He just went missing for a while. Then, of course, he came on that record. You all know what it is by now. That made history, calling out both Drake and my guy J. Cole. J. Cole is one of my favorite rappers of all time. I love J. Cole, man. He's definitely one of my go-tos. But that album, he came and he called him out on that, not album, but he came on that track and called him out with Metro Boomin and Future. People was like, yo, Kendrick, wow, Kendrick is actually out here on a feature and he's calling him out. So now everybody's happy to see Kendrick, right? Now people saying, oh, what you gonna do, Drake? What you gonna do, J. Cole? Guess what? Kendrick already, he know he's new to the crowd. The crowd is happy to see him. They already know the kind of skill he got. So now people want to see Kendrick in that type of arena. And of course, J. Cole dropped that track that he eventually deleted. I still got it now. I still listen to it. And now I see why he deleted it, of course. And then Drake coming saying, drop. Basically trolling Kendrick. But guess what? Drake has always been around. And he's still been around since then. We've seen so much Drake. He done dropped so much music. He's been on tours. He's always on social media. He's always in our face. Eventually, he will become repetitive. So even after the loss, right? He should have went and just say, you know what? I'm going to get off the grid for a little bit and then come back. And if he dropped this album after getting off the grid, maybe we'd be like, you know what? We at least got some new Drake music for, he went missing for a while. We start missing him. I feel he needs to disappear for a little bit and let people miss him for a little bit, then come back, and then you might have a bigger impact. But if you keep dropping, and he dropped so much music between the beef and now, it's ridiculous, man. Like, he actually dropped some troll songs, some weird features. He just been dropping music nonstop. I know what a workaholic is. I understand what it is, man. But sometimes you have to step away and let people miss you for a little bit, man. But let me know if I'm onto something or I'm wrong. The Drake fans probably don't want him to go nowhere. But I feel like overall, if you're in people's face all the time, you gotta give people time to miss you a little bit, man. But that just might be me.
Dogs is that while both are terrible, at least on For All the Dogs, for the purpose of making an album where people would talk about it, from the features to all of the disses, and along with all of the other things he was doing. While the music was not good,
because the Super Bowl, that track was hard though, I ain't gonna lie.
About his music, no matter how good or bad it was. But here, the music is just so lackluster that beyond saying that and looking at its impact and effect on Drake's career like we are now, there is just nothing to actually make you think and talk about the greater portion of the music as a whole. So with all of this, it's truly wild to say, but it's looking like Drake's run and everything he has ever represented really is over, because he just doesn't even have the ability anymore to make the masses want to listen to his music because even compared to someone like SZA and the Lana Deluxe she put out for SOS,
he got his fans though.
even a deluxe of an album.
He got his fans though. He got his fans. He got his loyal fans. And if he drop a hit, I believe a real hit. I'm yet to hear him drop a real hit so far, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm yet the Drake effect. Like Drake is a hit maker, whether we want like he was a hit maker. Now I don't know if he made a hit or he had a bunch of writers around him and the right team around him to give him those hits, but he had some bangers, bro. That I'm not feeling it lately, bro. I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a Kendrick effect, but
album that dropped years ago was able to outperform how this record did. And now with Drake losing to every
chat, I know this is weird for me, right?
Even a deluxe of an album that dropped years ago.
I prefer Skinny SZA, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I prefer Skinny SZA. I prefer this Skinny SZA right here. I had a little crush on Skinny SZA. The thick one, I'm not saying she looked bad, but the real thing, 100%, boy,
was able to outperform how this record did. And now with Drake losing to every single person pretty much, whoever tried to create a problem with him, it's really just so telling about the moment we are at as a whole. And now as this record really has no popular songs so far, and again, the only conversations being had about it is how the Drake era is over and how bad and boring the record is, and there is nothing further going on. When more numbers for this album come out and we start to see how this thing ages, I am sure it's all going to get even more terrible, and while Drake fans and OVO are definitely going to try to deny the reality we are seeing, and they will make their same old excuses to defend the guy, which we are already starting to see, and with the narratives that are trying to get pushed, it really is just as bad of a way of taking an L as we saw when Drake lost to Kendrick but did not want to admit it with The Hard Part 6. And so all in all, when it comes to the failure of this project, and really, I mean, if you compare this release to when GNX came out, if you're really into hip-hop and music, you can tell the difference of when an actual album comes out that commands the attention of everyone in this era and when something as ridiculous and forgettable as SSS For You does. And so overall, while Drake fans are going to deny just how bad the downfall of Drake is in this time, and they will continue to make every other excuse for him than just admitting that the music is lackluster. Right now, we are currently seeing, and we'll only see more, that with this album, it's not just going to be the biggest flop of Drake's entire career, but it's going to be one of the biggest moments in hip-hop and music history in terms of when everybody realized for good that an artist's run is over. And so now with...
Do y'all think that... Anyways.
With all that said, let me know.
He might be right.
What do you think of the numbers Drake has ended up doing with this record? Are you surprised by how bad they are? And what do you think is going to come of this as we see just how terrible this all really is? And now, if Drake and this album flop as bad as it is looking right now, do you think that there will even need to be a debate anymore on if he has had the biggest fall off of all time for any rapper, period? Because if he really does flop as bad as these numbers are looking, I think that's the conversation that we are going to need to have. Now,
but he could always say that's not his full album, though. That's the one caveat he have with saying it's him and Party Next Door. He could always say it's a collab album, my G. This is not my album. My album is dropping this summer, which will give him some more time to actually go into the lab. I think he should disappear until the summer. In my opinion, he should just disappear until... If this album flops, disappear until... Give yourself a few months. I would say a year or two, but clearly Drake, he can't handle just not being in everything, man. Give yourself a few months and come back for the summer swinging, man. If this flops. Well, it shouldn't flop, though, but if it flops.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how making this album even more lame, Drake delivered some of the worst disses on it to both Kendrick Lamar and Joe Budden here, which have made his downfall really just seem all the more embarrassing. Check out the suggested video.
All right, man. Great video, my G. But let me know your thoughts overall, man. Do y'all think Drake just needs to disappear for a little, man? That's what I think. I think that would greatly benefit him and mentally as well, man. He needs to separate from social media, all the negativity, and it will eventually die on. Trust me, the internet gonna move on to hating on somebody else. Right now, he is an easy target, and he makes it so much easier for people to dislike him. You know, I ain't gonna front. From even taking shots at Joe Budden, who he did, he took a lot of shots at a bunch of women, from my understanding, and that's his thing to do. Like, he's literally living up to expectation, which is crazy to me. But let me know what y'all think about the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, of course. Keep supporting your boy. Have a blessed one till next time. Be safe out there, and if y'all got anything for me to react to, make sure and send it to the link below, of course. Anyways, y'all have a blessed one. Be safe out there, y'all. Peace.